And welcome to the Big Kickoff League of Ireland podcast with myself, Roy Shanahan, and Nathan Doyle, as always. And Nathan, we're going to start off with the first division this week and a club statement from the Athlone Town board, which confirmed that Martin Russell had departed his role as manager of the senior men's team. What do we make of this one?
Yeah, I think when the news broke, not a lot of surprise by looking at Athlone this year, bottom of the table. They've only 1 point, picked that up in a 1-1 draw against Draw Merchants, Bray Wanderers. Winless in the last 8, 21 goals conceded, which is the most in the first division. So, wasn't surprised. Look, Director of Football, Dermot Lennon, has been appointed interim manager as the search is ongoing. This is a weird sense of deja vu in a way, isn't it, Roy? We saw here not that long ago having this conversation about Paul Doolan, who departed the role as Athlone Town manager at the end of 2021. Since I think it was Pádraig Moran in 2012, so that's 10 years ago now. God, life is fleeting. The Athlone Town have had 14 managers since then, the last 10 years. That in itself is a damning statement, you take in the financial issues that they've had in their recent history, that betting scandal in 2017, the dispute of ownership in 2018. It's sad. Athlone have become somewhat of a laughingstock of the league, and it's the manager crisis for me, mate. It really, really is. And you just have to gauge the fans once again. You're chatting to a few fans over the past days, and this news is broke, and nobody actually really had a bad word to say about Martin Russell. And a lot of people think that they won't be able to get a better manager than Martin Russell in the current state. And it's all crying out for a major change in that club from top to bottom. Talking with the board, there's been a lot of fans upset with the board that they haven't been able to back a manager. That's been seen in the past 10 years. Like I said, right, 14 managers, that's bonkers to think of, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you wonder why they can't get any sort of consistency going, or they can't even make any sort of decent stay when they get to the Premier Division. Like, they've had successes with some of those 14 managers, but yeah, it's mad. And going back to that conversation me and you had not that long ago about Paul Doolan, and it always sticks out. You were going on, and rightfully so, now that it seems about that they have to go local. They have to stick local in terms of managers, coaches, players. Surely that's the only way to go here for Athlone Town, isn't there? Because this early on in the season, I've been thinking for a while now, God, who could come in and replace them? And, like last year when Paul Doolan left the job, Ian Morris was without a role back then. There was one or two others that we mentioned at the time. But now, I'm racking my brain and I really can't think, Do they look at Leinster Senior, I think Willow Park, Athlone side in the Leinster Senior, do they look like a side like that? Adrian Carberry, I was surprised when he let him go after he short spell, not short spell, a year or two spell. It's a long spell for Athlone these days. Like Adrian's a local Athlone man, very popular as a manager, very popular as a player for Athlone Town. So, yeah, for me, that's the only way. But obviously, from someone not from Athlone and from the outside looking in, easier said than done. But
they've nearly used up every manager in the League of Ireland, So, where's the problem? Is the problem, it can't be the managers. So it has to be with some of the clubs in League of Ireland, if you look at them, they hand out tiny, tinchy budgets and expect managers to perform miracles. And there's no doubt that that's what's happened down here as well with Martin Russell. Martin Russell's a decent manager, a good coach. And what have Athlone done? What have Athlone done in their time in the League of Ireland? They're not, recently, I'm talking about.
Yeah.
They're not doing anything, and they're, as you said, they're going through manager after manager and they're stuck in the way. They nearly went out of existence. So the board in Athlone need to have a good hard look at themselves and say, like, where are we bringing this club? What are we doing here? What is our expectations? How are we going to develop this team? How are we going to develop this club? How are we going to make sure that the town is in with us? I don't see anything from Athlone to say that. And in all fairness, they've always been getting in players from outside of Athlone. They've been getting in managers from outside of Athlone. Where's the passion in Athlone? Where's the passion for football in Athlone? Why isn't it focused in on Athlone Town Football Club? Why aren't all those clubs making sure that the youth are going in there and that the players are leaving Athlone to go on to bigger and better things? I'm not saying that, and there's a good reason why, because I don't see a plan.
And one thing they left out as well, Roy, which I think again, outside looking in, I've never seen it being utilised, is Athlone IT. Is the IT there of blending education with the opportunity to play men's football. Like, again, it's just a quick example. I'm living down here in Sligo, and I'm starting to see that the relationship that the Sligo Rovers have now with the IT is turned into a university, actually, which is going to even make that double fold. They're going to have more people coming from, the likes of Dublin and Galway, Cork, bigger cities that probably wouldn't have came. More opportunities, more options. So if you can make them relationships with the IT in Athlone, that'd be absolutely fantastic. But yeah, it really, really is. It goes back, doesn't it, to the board not actually willing to back a manager. And it's sad to say, well, you look at Athlone Town in the 80s when the O'Connor brother, like Torlock O'Connor was the manager and his brother Porrick was the manager after him, and the success that they had in terms of winning league titles, winning FAI Cups. But like I said, in recent history, that's just not been there at all. And it's a shame, again, how often we've talked about these towns like Athlone, but one club is in them, one club towns. It's a good fan base there. They've kept the club alive. In terms of investing money back in 2008, especially when they really looked like they were on the brink of existence back then. I think it's a decent little ground. I know it's not to everybody's taste. It's a
nice ground.
Lovely main
it's a
stand.
lovely ground.
Yeah. I've been there myself. The location of it. It's just outside the town, so that's all ideal. No excuses there of it being, in the middle of the country. So it goes back to potential. We talked about Galway the past couple of weeks, actually, with the investment that they're looking at, but Athlone, they look a million miles away from that. There's no way of seeing. And even last year, we looked like, I even done an article about it last year of the recruitment that they brought in, but even last year, they went through two managers, and it just can't. You can't get that level of consistency in all aspects of the club. Not only on the
consistency,
field.
no consistency.
Anything, nothing at all.
And this is where they are, Nathan. They're in that point of no consistency, no flow, no progress, no vision. They really, really have to look hard at themselves down at the board down there. If they're happy with that, fair enough. If they think that they're doing a good job, but if they think they're doing a good job, fair enough. You continue on the way you're going and stay stuck in that first division. When a third tier comes in, don't be too surprised that you're going to drop down to the third division.
Yeah, definitely. It really is. Like I said, this isn't a Cabinteely. This is a side that has been successful in the past and has a rich history of producing players, a rich history in the League of Ireland. It's a town that's, like Westmeath, even with you can't blame the GAA with this county that they're competing. It's a town that the aspect of football should be there. It's a strong history of football in Athlone Town. So, yeah, damn and dying to see. And personally, I don't see where they go next. Like I said, if you're looking at resources of managers, they pretty much used them all up. But even looking at the next three games, like Treaty United at home, Cove Ramblers away, and Waterford at home, there's opportunities there to pick up points in the next couple of weeks. And I find it impossible to see because you're tiring out managers after the first round of fixtures. It's just impossible to see. And like I said, mate, they cannot be surprised at the position they find themselves in.
Absolutely not. And it'd be very interesting to see where their next step is. Again, it's like getting a blank piece of paper out and starting again, because they really need to have a look at every aspect of what they're doing and how it's all connected up. At the moment, there's nothing connected up at all. Okay, tonight, Longford Town played Cove Ramblers. Nathan, you got to watch the game. I didn't get to see it myself. So we haven't discussed Longford Town enough in the start, and we can admit that. So talk about Longford. Tell us, you were delighted with their style of football tonight.
Yeah, so just a caveat for anybody listening and watching. We're recording this on Tuesday, the 12th of April. We have some massive Champions League games going on. Bayern Munich and Villarreal, but most importantly, Real Madrid and Chelsea. So the whole world was watching them games. I decided to go on to the LOI TV and select Longford and Cove Ramblers. And you know what, Roy? I'm delighted I did. I really, really am. Like I said, we're trying to balance and give everybody a fair shake. Because we like to think that there's different supporters listening in. Watch Longford United beat Cove Ramblers 2-0, as you'd expect at home. It's a good, I thought it was a decent Longford side. I was wrong. This is a really, really good side here that we have in the making, and I probably foolishly, by not knowing, by naivety on my part, you're going to put the full-time teams ahead of them. Your Galways, Corks and Waterford. This Longford side, by what I've seen, they can really challenge because, again, going off LOI TV and highlights and reading match reports, I haven't been overly happy with the style of play we've seen in the first division this season, and I throw the likes of Waterford into that sentiment as well.
Yeah,
this Longford side, they were really, really enjoyable to watch over this 90 minutes. Playing out from the back, very, very comfortable. We've seen Darren Craven in the middle. He scored actually a lovely goal around the half an hour mark. Really, now, poor defending, which you could say defenders backing off and letting them have the space and letting them have the option to have a strike. But himself and young lad Dylan Manamy right beside him in the middle, only 20 years of age. Again, I'm going off 90 minutes. I can't get too excited. This lad looks like a real prospect of what he's saying. It's very, very full of energy. Seems to have everything, great range of passing, very, very comfortable with the ball at his feet. He stood out for me head and shoulders in this game. Yeah, very, very exciting to watch. I'm actually glad, like I said, I decided to tune in and have a look because it's really opened my eyes to what this Longford side can do. I had them as potentially, if they can hover around that final player position. But, you know, I've been listening to Longford fans talk and say how excited they are for the season ahead, and I probably scoffed at them a little bit. But now I can see what you mean now. Yeah, very, very exciting. Cove Armlet, you take that with a pinch of salt. We have to see how they do going forward in the second and third round of games, playing, you know, bigger caliber teams. But I was impressed with Longford Town tonight. No, fair dues to them.
Okay, and their next games on Monday, they're playing Bray. The way Bray are playing at the moment, that you might fancy them to get something out of that. I can't see who they're playing on Friday. I'll have a look at that again. In that division, Nathan, Cork are sitting pretty. We said that already. Galway are there getting the results anyhow. I'm not so sure, as you said, about the style and how they're playing and how well they're playing, but they're definitely up there. Waterford, a little bit of a stumble, and Longford, who have 2 games in hand, can go up to joint second if they win their games in hand. And from what you're saying, you can see that happening.
Yeah, come here again. 90 minutes, we can't get too excited. But even looking at the results this season, right, they've only lost 1 game to Bray Wanderers. That Bray again been disappointed with how they've been getting on. It's just the draws with Bray. It seems to be a massive issue with them. Like especially last year, it was ungodly. And seeing the 0-0 draw to Treaty United, I always go back to it. I'm very conscious. I always pick on this game, but it gave me flashbacks to that game last season against Treaty and Bray. I'm telling you, mate, it was horrific. It was still. I still lie in bed at night and thinking, Jesus, I'm going to be in my deathbed one day. And them 90 minutes will come back to haunt me because I'll never get them back. I could have spent that time with family or friends or doing something, anything at all. But yeah, look, that Longford side, they seem to have a bit about them. And even defensively, Shane Elworthy was good tonight. The American guy in goal, geez, the names that they really going on my head there. I do apologize. Dennison, that's what it was, Dennison. Apologise about that. Nick Barker, someone as well that, you know, we've seen bounce around the league for a couple of years now. It'd be great to see him get that consistency. I thought he played well as well tonight at the back for Longford Town. So yeah. Been happy with him tonight, and I was delighted to get to see them just to give me a bit of an eye-opener and a bit of a lesson on how Longford have been getting on this season. And that, yeah, maybe we were a bit too quick. Well, I was a bit too quick. I'm not going to speak for you. I was probably a bit too quick to dismiss them just because you don't have the monetary gain that other full-time teams in the division may have.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to Bohemians. And an issue you want to talk about is the captaincy at Bows and maybe captaincy in general.
Yeah, so I thought this was a bit interesting. I've seen it being floated around by a few other people. Right, we talked about Bows last week, so I'm not going to get too much into the nitty-gritty of how they've been performing. Anyone interested are sitting in 6th position on 11 points, middle of the road, middle table, which you'd expect that probably for them this season to be in that little bit of a European push. But anyway, look, again, a lot of people made a lot of players leaving in the off season. Big ones for me. Well, the biggest one for me was Keith Buckley. Get away from the Georgia Kellys and the Ross Tierney. Keith Buckley's a massive loss for me. He's the captain, and Bob Cornwall, their co-captain. So 2 massive players to leave. Just because I think that's the big issue for me, that there's, from what I'm seeing, now we don't see it day in, day out and what goes on behind the scenes, but a lack of leadership on the field for me is a big issue. And you can even just look at the games against Drogheda, UCD and Finn Harps. They drew all them games 1-1. In all them games, Bohemians went 1-0 up and they conceded late enough goals to drop valuable points. Like they're teams that realistically should be beaten if they have aspirations to get into European football. So since the start of the season, we've seen left-back Tyreek Wilson, who, first of all, I think is an absolute smashing full-back, one of the best in the league. I really do highly rate him. But we've seen Tyreek, who's only 22, wear the armbands. even though he was never officially announced as the club captain. So when Tyreek was out for 2 weeks, we've seen Jordan Flores, 26, only newly signed for the club in the off-season. We've seen him wear the captain's armband. Where this got interesting for me was both of them played in their 1-0 win in the showgrounds against Sligo Rovers on the 5th of April. And it wasn't Tyreek Wilson that was wearing the armband, it was Jordan Flores. Look, make of that what you will. I've seen people say, was that a demotion for Tyreek? Because the week before the Sligo game, they were beaten 2-1 by Derry City in Dalymount Park. That down to a 93rd James Akatunde winner. Keith Lawn was very critical in the media and in interviews about his back four. Then you had Tyreek coming out himself and saying that he's not the most vocal player in the dressing room, which I didn't think so, but I had a lot of people questioning why is he the captain. For me, like, the captain doesn't always have to be like an absolute mental case, roaring and shouting and slamming things around the dressing room. I'd like a captain to be vocal in terms of instructions. He should be the manager's mouth really on the pitch. Should be giving instructions, coach should be giving encouragement, and be just generally leading by example with his performances. So, as someone that's seen Tyreek Wilson play in the flesh, he isn't the most vocal guy in the pitch at all. I've seen that myself with St. Pat's down the years with Ian Birmingham. As good as a player he is, he's just not the most vocal player, and I think that's something that you need as a captain. So yeah, I really do. I don't know, are we making this into a non-issue? What do you think? Is it a non-issue? Is there a lack of leaders at Bohemians? Is there someone even in that Bohemian squad at the moment that you think could up the captaincy? Because when, actually, now I'm going to do something stupid and answer my own question. Because when Keith Buckley left and Rob Cornwall left, I thought it was made for someone like James Talbot. That you see him in goal, he's constantly howling, constantly trying to organise his back four, as any good goalkeeper should. But yeah, I even thought it was strange when Wilson started rocking the armband at the start of the season.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm in favour of goalkeepers being captains. They're always mouthy anyhow, so you're always going to hear them one way or the other, whether they're captain or they're not a captain. So listen, if you feel he's the best person in the squad and you don't feel that anyone else can do the job, fair enough. I do think that the player who's going to be captain needs to, as you said, he has to be a manager on the pitch. So he needs to be not only to be able to play well, he needs to be tactically aware. He needs to know nearly everyone's position inside out. He needs to be able to know personalities inside out. So he needs to be able to, encourage those that need encouragement, bollock those that need a bollocking, motivate players on the pitch. It's a tough role being a captain. Yeah. And in all of that, you have to perform in your position then as well. And it's normally someone who has a bit of experience because, Tyreek is only 22. And that's why Jordan Flores, at 26 years of age, you see he's at Dundalk. I don't know his personality that well, so I can't. You would.
I don't want to cut caution, Roy, but again, seeing him play, he is very vocal on the pitch. Okay. In fairness to Jordan, he is. Yeah.
So, and again, as I said, I don't know his personality, so he may be vocal, but I don't know how he comes across. Yeah. I don't know what he says. I don't know what manner he says it. Some people can be vocal and can, piss people off, really. Some people can be vocal and encourage and say the right things and say the right words. So, but you would think that someone his age, of his experience, would be a number one candidate. Chris Twardek has loads of experience. He's gone away to different countries to play. I mean, he is in a different country that he's playing in now. He's an international. You would think that he would be someone, but then again, maybe he's not vocal enough. But I would think, as you said, someone who is like Buckley, who is able to get a message across, someone who is experienced and has seen what left fulls need, what centre backs need, communicate tactically about what their positions and be able to take that information off a manager and be able to pass it on out on the pitch, because obviously you can't hear everything that the manager's saying out there. So if the instructions are coming from on the pitch all the time, well then brilliant, that's a really good captain. So yeah, I think that if you have older lads in the team with experience, you should be looking at them more so than the younger lads. Let the younger lads develop their game. And if Tyreek's game is suffering because of it, and you said as the back line is sort of struggling, he might have a little confidence issue because he's not able to deal with it with the lack of experience that he has. where someone like Flores may be playing a poor game, but may very well be able to get himself through a game, just pure determination and mental strength. And he may not play the best in the world, but he'll still give you everything. And people, when that's the minimum you can give when you're playing a game of football, is absolutely everything, and not let the game get at you. Sometimes you're touched or you're passing and everything. Sometimes it just doesn't work for you, but you try to fight through that and make the best out of it as much as you can. So younger players sometimes just crumble under that pressure. So yes, I think it's an important thing for a team like Bohemians. And as you said, Tyreek is a quiet lad, so it's surprising. Sometimes you pick a captain because of how he plays. So if he's not playing well and he doesn't talk, then he's probably not the right lad.
I will say as well, in fairness to him, I actually seen him in that game against Sligo where they beat them 1-0. He was excellent on the night. And another interesting point, and another actually thing we'll throw out here, Roy, is Keith Long had his say on the whole issue, because it was made
Right.
into a bit of a deal after the Sligo Rovers game when the two of them were playing and Flores had the armband. Pretty much what he came out and said was that it's you're looking at a generational difference now in the dressing room. Like the dressing room dynamic, as I'm sure you know, Roy, from being in dressing rooms with Luke and United on a weekly basis. It's different with the younger players coming through now. It's a bit more quiet, it's a bit more subdued, to even probably what it was 10, 15 years ago. And Keith pretty much said that, like I was saying earlier, Tyreek Wilson actually was never officially announced as a club captain. Keith said that he doesn't want to put that burden on any player at the moment at Bohemians, that he feels a leader may grow into the dressing room. So I suppose what we could talk about coming off the back of that is, with the younger lads coming through the way they are, the dressing rooms are different gravy to what they were, like, say, 10, 15 years ago. And we do have young captains in the league, Owen Toole at Derry City and Jack Keeney, both of them at 20 at UCD, both of them at 23, and both of them do that role very well. But I suppose, is the art of captaincy a bit of a dying art, or are we always going to have, these lads coming through that are a little bit, not for lack of a better term, a little bit mouthy, that, take that leadership role more so than other lads do? Or are we going to see the captaincy situation die out? Are they just going to go to the more talented players, or the lads that can lead by example with their performances rather than with their mouth and with their encouragement?
I think it's a problem. I don't think it's if Keith's a top manager, he knows how to work a dressing room, etc. That's fine. But I think it's a problem if people can't talk, if players can't talk or communicate in the dressing room and things are quiet in there. I worry about football, because you do, and I know they talk about people having earphones and all that. Football is about communication as well. And you have to be able to communicate, and you have to be able to create a banter, a team bond, and you need to have someone to look at to drive you on. If they're all left to their own devices, maybe that's why Bohemians are mid-table. Maybe that's why they're struggling a little bit. Maybe they need to get someone to grab them by the scruff of the neck. It doesn't have to be Roy Keane stuff, but it does have to be someone who they respect, someone who they look up to, someone they take the word for. And if they respect, say it's Jordan Flores, if they respect them and look at how he plays, they fight harder when he says something to them. The simple things. Someone could be having a nightmare. Listen, you're better than that. Concentrate on getting your touch together. Keep it simple. Try and keep in their head and don't let them crumble. A good captain keeps communicating with his players. So I'd be a little bit worried about that kind of comment. I'm not so sure about that.
Yeah, it is definitely interesting to see, isn't it? Because it is like a generation. Like, I can't talk about like a younger generation. I'm only 25. Like, I can't sit back as a weathered veteran and say, but even with my own experience, it is. It's very common now to mobile phones are very prevalent in dressing rooms. There's like the atmosphere is completely different.
I don't get.
And like you said, earphones. It was actually funny enough. You actually mentioned the earphones. I was listening to a bit off topic with League of Ireland. I was listening to Sean Dyche do an interview on Sky Sports during the week, and they were talking about Pep Peeves, the manager, and he mentioned that. He goes, "The amount of lads that come up with me and have a conversation, even though they're turned off, but the earbuds are still sitting in their ears."
Yeah,
he's like, every time they do that, I just want to pull them out and smash them.
Yeah, it's a lack of respect for me. I there's a lot of things I question now, Nathan. One is parents bringing up their kids, and respect being shown to people. Simple things. They're holding the doors open for people, and and as I said, taking your earphones out when someone's talking to you. You know, I just don't get it. You know, I mean,
Saying thank you, just simple, like as simple as that. Like
simple, you know. But
yeah.
there's basic things that I see that is not there now. And you can call it a generational thing, but if it's a generational thing, it's a problem. And I think for Keith Long, if it's a generational thing in his dressing room that there's too many quiet people, that's a problem. I think he needs to sort that. I think that's going to linger for him, and that will be a problem as they go along. If it's let be that way, I think he needs someone in there to communicate and show them the right way about going about things.
Yeah.
Okay, Nathan, tonight the Ireland women's team were playing Sweden, and turned out they got an absolutely fantastic draw away from home. 1-1. Katie McCabe with the opening goal. But this is a great result for them in this group, isn't it?
Absolutely brilliant, Roy. You know, this is a Sweden side that hasn't dropped any points at home since 2010. Sorry, even further back in 2012, 2010. Yeah. Brilliant. Now they're sitting in third position, 8 points, 2 points off Finland, who are sitting in second place. And we also have a game in hand. So, yeah, really, really is. Look, Sweden are already qualified for the 2023 Women's World Cup. I believe it's in Australia and New Zealand, isn't it?
I actually don't know. I'm not too sure where it is, Nathan.
Yeah, I think it is. But look, at the end of the day, if we're looking at Ireland's women's team, there's 3 major cup finals now coming up. They're playing Georgia away on the 27th of June.
And that's their game, and that's their game in hand.
Yeah.
So
and this is a game they have to. Sorry, mate.
That would be to go 1 point ahead of Finland, isn't that right? If they win that game.
Yeah, that game is going to be in June, and you have to win this game. This is a Georgia side that are sitting bottom in Group A with 0 points. Then the massive one, you have 2 huge games in September, but most importantly, the 1st of September, they're at home to Finland. So I'm sure when we'll report our news in terms of venues and tickets, it'd be great to see people pack out, whether it be Tallaght Stadium or Turner's Course, whatever it may be. Because this is a massive 2 games, and then they finish huge up on the 6th of September with Slovakia away from home. So yeah, still with this 1-1 draw away to Sweden, a massive, like I said, it can't be downplayed how big a result this is. Ireland really could be looking at their first ever Women's World Cup.
And the country needs it badly. Do you know, like, I mean, if the men's team aren't getting to their tournaments, which they aren't at the moment, you need the women's team now to lift it. And for women's football, it would be massive. It would be huge to have those figures out there, someone to look up to, and get more women and girls playing football. It'd be absolutely brilliant. So when this game comes around against Finland, they've got to pack out the house and make sure that they're as vocal as can be, because you seen the way it was when they hammered, wasn't it Georgia who they hammered?
Yeah.
In the last game, and now in this game, now there's a bit of belief. I think they've only lost one, Nathan, if I'm correct, and that was against Sweden. Was that right?
Yeah. I think I was looking in. Yep.
Yeah. So they're doing unbelievably well. The level has really increased, and Vera Pauw has done a really good job. But it does show that the game has grown as well. That the talent that we have has grown as well. So there is those foundations as well. You just hope now that a World Cup, just like the senior team in 1990 and 94. Football just grew absolutely massively on top of an already popular sport. Women's football needs this now here in this country, and it would be absolutely fantastic. And it'd be great for us to be able to cheer on an Irish team in a World Cup again.
Yeah, definitely. And it's, like I said, very important just to the growth of women's football, because we're seeing it, but we're not done. We're nowhere near to being done. You know, we're looking at domestically with the Women's National League, with terms of sponsorship and the marketing push that's getting. Actually, speaking of that, we'll give the 4 players I mentioned representing the Women's National League. We had no Women's National League fixtures over the past week because of this break. So who did we have? We had Chloe Mustaki. She left back, played the full 90 minutes, vital role in today's game, plays for Shelbourne. Ellen Malloy was an unused sub, only 17. Like, serious young talent. Trying to play for Wexford. Great to see her in the squad. Anya O'Gorman, very familiar name to a lot of people. And Thomas saying she's absolutely excellent. Tends to play a very deep holding midfielder for Plymouth United. But in fairness, with Ireland, it's not uncommon to see her play at right back either. So a very versatile player. And then Jessica Zui, again, unused sub, only 19, playing for Shelbourne. So congratulations to those four for even making it into the Ireland squad, and everybody else. You know, he said Katie McCabe, playing for Arsenal, doing excellent at the minute. She's one of the figureheads of Irish football, one of the icons at the moment.
And
We
leading
have
by example.
Leanne Kiernan. Leading by example. Leanne Kiernan, very selfishly heading the game. Ambassador, great to see her. She's playing over in Liverpool at the moment. She came on off the bench. Yeah, all brilliant. Brilliant to see. Excellent. Massive game against Finland coming up September. Like I said, when we get news, we report on venues, tickets. Great to see people. Going to go try to get there myself, support them on, because it really can't be understated how massive it would be for Ireland to get to the Women's World Cup in 2023.
Huge. And the under-16s are starting the 4-team tournament today as well, Nathan.
They've started it already, yeah. So I've been watching some of school games today, right? Like I said, Longford. This game was on at 2:30. It was shown live on YouTube. So without ratting myself out, while I was in work, I stuck it on, had a cheeky little look. Sorry, Gaffer, if you're listening in. I did get my stuff done though. Unfortunately, Ireland, I said that with such a lack of confidence. So unfortunately, the Ireland's under-16s were beaten 3-2 by the Serbia under-16s. So Serbia are the host of this 14 tournament, which also involves North Macedonia and Montenegro. Look, excellent experience for the lads. They were 2-0 up at half time, but unfortunately they let the lead slip. Even hit the crossbar late on, so quite disappointing. Look, the goals, again, we're getting represented well, right? League of Ireland, 2 goal scorers. We had Naj Razi, playing for Shamrock Rovers, got the opening goal. Then Trent Coney Doherty, he was playing for Derry City, but seems to be Liverpool bound. A lot of hype around this young lad. He got the second goal. And I tell you, some massive League of Ireland representation here. We had 5 lads from St. Pat's, lads from Shelbourne, Shamrock Rovers, Waterford, Bohemians. I have a list of names here, and honestly, it take a few minutes to go through the whole lot of them. So brilliant to see such big League of Ireland representation when it comes to the Ireland squads. And long may it continue, and the future is definitely bright, because there were some seriously talented lads out there today. Unfortunately, now with this defeat, Paula's Arms lads still go into a 3rd place playoff that'll be played on Thursday, the 14th of April. Again, it'll be on YouTube for free, so anybody wants to check it out, give it a look, because, like I said, some talented lads in that squad today. Really, really good.
It's all about experience, Nathan, and they're getting great experience playing in those tournaments. Of course, you want to win games, and it breeds confidence, etc. But when you lose games, you learn a hell of a lot more. Okay, you want to give a plug for the David Conroy Memorial Cup in Head of the Game Park?
Yeah, let's just finish off on that. Look, like I said, the David Conroy Memorial Cup. Unfortunately, we might remember David tragically passed away last August. He was extremely high regarded under 14s coach at Drogheda. He was also a supporter and volunteer, but most importantly, he was a family man. He was a father of 3. Very sad to hear that news coming in. So the game is going to take place on Saturday, the 30th of April at 3 o'clock in Head in the Game Park. There's still limited tickets available if anybody's interested. They're €25. I think there's a booking fee included. You can get them on bookandhawk.com if anyone's interested. The game itself is Laytown United Legend versus Liverpool Legends. And I tell you, there's some big names going to be on display. If there's any Liverpool fans listening in.
You mean Jan Mulvey?
Jan Mulvey, the one and only. It gets bigger. Trust me, it gets bigger, lads. I know you thought Jan was the big one. You have the likes of Ian Rush, Ronnie Whelan, John Aldridge, Jason McAteer, and of course Jermaine Pennant. All the stars came out with this one. Check out even the Facebook page if you can attend the game. There's fundraisers, there's merchandise being sold. So all proceeds of this are going towards Laytown United's development fund. Laytown United is another club that was extremely close to the heart of David Conroy. So, yeah, we just reached out, saying we give it a bit of a plug to get one last push. Well, about 2 weeks out to the game now. So, anyone listening, if you want to get tickets again, go on to bookandhawk.com. If you can help out in any way, check out the Facebook page. 2 clubs very close to David's heart. So, it'd be brilliant to see, wouldn't it? And again, it all goes back to that community of League of Ireland football and amateur football. It's a link that should be made. So, yeah, anyone interested, get onto it, because it looks like it's going to be a cracking day. Hopefully the weather is on the side. Probably won't be, but yeah, don't miss a chance to see some major Liverpool legends and Jermaine Pennant play a bit of ball.
Yeah, get out and support that as much as you can. hopefully next week we will have Brian O'Sullivan, former Wexford manager, join us on the show. So do join us next week for that. Nathan, thanks very much for your time. If you're listening again on the podcast, don't forget we're on YouTube and vice versa on the move. Have a look out for us on SoundCloud, Spotify, TuneIn, Apple Podcasts, and wherever else you get your podcasts. Talk to you soon.